Hey guys, this is Greg.
Hey, this is Matt.
We're the Dusty Console. Today we're going to do a video podcast that we filmed about a year ago.
Was that long ago?
It was that long ago, but I never got around to doing the editing on it, so we're going to do that today. But first, I wanted to let you know that the video quality in the face cam is going to be a little bit lower.
Yeah. We were experimenting around with being dusty with our video equipment as well here. Got this for like $50. Used to be a lot of money in the 90s, but yeah, not up to today's standards here.
Yeah, so it might be a little bit of a trip here. We're going to give you the top 5 favorite games of all time. My opinions and his opinions. We have 2 different lists, and they're completely different. Not one overlapped.
Yes, we are getting opinionated.
Yes.
There's not enough of that on YouTube.
So without further ado, let's do this.
Yeah.
The way I kind of looked at this when I made my list was I was thinking of games that I played the most.
Okay.
Games that I put the most amount of time in, but also that had elements that a lot of people enjoyed. Like, they were very successful games to other people, but they were also the best games, in my opinion, for me.
Right.
So that's where I went with my list. What did you do for yours?
Very similar.
Okay.
I think, people who game as a community, we share a lot of that common ground there too. And I definitely fall into that category as well, is that they're games that are very popular with the rest of the world are very popular with me. Who would have thunk it? I also wanted to put in there that you'll see which ones come in here and there that affected me on either a personal level or on kind of an artistic and design level that really did stand out.
Okay.
And they may not have been the most popular games, but I feel like kind of affected other games in a positive way.
So why don't you start us off with your number 5?
Okay. My number 5, I put in there, this might be a little surprisingly low, is actually Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Okay. All right.
That game, I love the Grand Theft Auto series. Yeah, played a hell of a lot of them. But that one was just the special, really cool with the music from the moment that game started out.
Okay.
You knew you were in for something really cool. And then it always... It upped the ante from the other games where you started doing cool alien stuff, opening up parts of the map, the size, the scale of the world as it opened up to you was really something that Rockstar did right.
And Rockstar's done a lot of things right over the years.
Yeah.
They're one of the only companies in recent history who the community has not shamed for anything because they've just done such a spectacular job almost every time, just hitting it out of the ballpark. So let me ask you this. If San Andreas is on there and Grand Theft Auto is one of your favorite franchises, why not 5? Or why not 4? What were wrong with those games that you didn't like?
Nothing was wrong with them. It was just kind of more of the same.
Okay.
So, and I love Grand Theft Auto, but you got your fetch quests, you got your your busy work that needs to get thrown in there and can make the game a lot more enjoyable.
Well, you need to get up there into the 60, 70, 80 hours of gameplay, so you have to throw in some side quests.
And San Andreas, of course, had a lot of that in there too.
San Andreas was kind of the first of the new kind of way of doing things, right? It was the first-person shooter and everything. And, you had a thought, and I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Just the world expanded with the busy work.
Right.
Yeah, I felt like, when I was exploring new areas, I got to go to get a package for the Yakuza or whatever the heck, that, I got to explore the city with that. And in later games, the city was just so huge that you're just kind of I'm never really going to get this down. Or I can see, I mean, you can.
You can. It's going to take you a really long time.
And then the story elements and the characters, it's great for what it was. But what San Andreas had with the gang warfare, just capturing this kind of 1990s Los Angeles, San Francisco, Nevada world was really cool and meaningful to me. As someone who grew up in the 90s.
Right.
I was kind of hey, I remember that.
Those are the kind of things that bring you into the game. It makes you feel feelings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
about the characters, about the time, especially the music. The music always brings you in. And GTA over the years has always done a great job of getting that licensed music, that
Yeah.
content that you remember listening to as a kid, or, you know, however old you were in the 80s or the 90s, whenever that music came out. So
Smart move, music producers.
definitely a smart move.
Get your audio into games. Give it away for free.
Yeah,
Free advertising.
exactly.
But what about you, man? What's number 5 for you?
Okay, for me, number 5, I bought this as a preview game back in the day. It is full now, and it has plenty of different expansions, but it's Ark Survival Evolved.
Oh,
That's my number 5 game.
I have to admit, I've never played that.
Okay, so I've got well over 300 hours in this game. Now, some people play it as a massive online multiplayer game. I don't play it like that.
All right.
I like to play it 2-player on a dedicated server. It's just the 2 of us,
All right.
so it's PvE. The nice thing about the game is that even whether you're on PC or Xbox, whichever version you want to play, it opens up all of the settings for you.
Okay.
So you can customize all the settings exactly the way you want it. You can turn on PvE mode. You can say, I don't do damage to my own partner.
All right.
You can buff yourself and your partner a little bit since you're playing with only 2 players.
Yep.
You can say, I want my XP to go up a little bit faster because there's only 2 of us.
Yeah.
Instead of being in a massive world where there's 100 people on your tribe, right?
Yep.
There's something about it. You're fighting and you're taming and riding dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, you can't go
Come
wrong
on.
with that.
There is no greater feeling than roaming through a jungle on the back of a T-Rex, and no matter what comes at you, you're probably going to win.
Yeah.
Unless it's a Giganotosaurus or something huge.
Oh yeah, you gotta have some challenge.
You gotta have a challenge.
Some
Because
surprises.
the T-Rex is not the biggest, strangely enough. But it's just so much fun. The leveling up is good. It's a little slow if you're only doing 2-player, which is why you can buff it in the settings so that you get there faster. And then you can start building all kinds of new things. It just makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
Learning how to trap a dinosaur and then knock him out and then feed him to tame him and then keep him safe from other carnivores while he's unconscious while you're taming him.
Oh.
Because you can lose all your taming if something comes by and starts hitting him.
Okay.
So it's really fun. It's just a lot of fun. You just start with nothing.
All right.
You literally start with nothing. You have to just figure out, okay, I have to drink and I have to eat berries until you
like
hit
berries.
a tree to make wood.
Yeah.
And then once you have wood, you can start hitting rocks to get flint. And then you start making tools. It's very, very cool. That could very easily be higher than top 5 for me, but right now for this list I've got it at number 5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's super good. All right, what do you think for number 4? What's your number 4?
Number 4, got to go back a little bit. This is one that could be a little bit higher for me too, but it's just the way it falls out today. Is Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay, I don't know that one. Tell me about it.
Oh man, yeah, you got to play this. They got
Which
the
platform?
PlayStation 2 originally.
Okay.
They have some remastered versions out.
Nice.
But people listening who know this game will know exactly what I'm talking about. It
Alright.
was of that new era of the PlayStation 2 level of power.
Okay.
It did scale right. Mood, everything. It's a very slow-paced, somber game
Okay.
that has a absolutely mind-boggling, grandiose scale where you're fighting these colossi. And so
What are they? Just huge?
you are, and it
Guys.
depends on the boss,
Oh,
but some of the most extreme ones is basically you versus not just a building, but like a city. So you
But they move?
They move and they attack, and they're these slow, lumbering beasts.
Oh, that
And
sounds
you got to get
cool.
the timing right. Then you go up and you find their weak spot and bring them down.
That sounds really cool.
But you are destroying a huge, beautiful thing. So like those like somebody killing your dinosaur in the game you just mentioned.
Oh, and you lose your mind when that happens.
Oh god, yeah.
Because you spent so much time
Yeah.
like making this your own.
Fostering something.
Yeah.
And then you spend in Shadow of the Colossus, you are exploring this beast, and yes, it's to find the vulnerability, to kill it, to progress the game.
Yeah.
But there is this kind of sadness, like a hunter killing an especially beautiful deer or something like that.
Something rare.
Yeah.
That you feel like you shouldn't be killing, but you have to because it's the game.
Yeah, and it's a survival thing. So
Okay.
it exists in this really weird, really beautiful, happy, sad space.
A happy, sad space.
And the game technology is there to back it up.
Nice.
You should totally check it out.
Okay.
It's an oldie but a goodie. I have never seen properly done again. Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Matt's stamp of approval.
Yeah. How about you?
All right, number 4, I've got another Rockstar title.
Ooh.
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, that was a close one for me. Yeah.
I had to put this on here. I absolutely loved Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
Someone once said that it was like GTA on a horse, and that's pretty much exactly what it was. But they didn't phone anything in it. It was a completely different world. Everything was fresh and new back in that day when it came out on the 360 and I think PS3.
Yep.
Just
Yeah, I
an
played it.
absolutely spectacular game. You know, you could sit for hours and play poker. You know, in the casinos, you could play blackjack. You could play five-finger fillet.
Yep.
You could just go through and talk to people.
Yep.
At the time, it was an absolutely massive map.
Yep.
And it kept getting bigger as you progressed through the storyline. You never really knew how big it was going to get.
Yeah.
And eventually, towards the end, you made it down into Mexico. It's just huge. And every type of scenery you could want. There were forests, there were mountains, there were deserts.
There were trains.
And the trains. Stagecoaches that you could hire to take you from point to point. Or, which was more fun, you could just ride a horse. You could tame horses.
Wow.
There's just so much to do in this game, and it was just so compelling to play it.
Yep.
I couldn't get enough of it, and I think the storyline, if you played it through with the like the side quests and stuff, maybe it came out to 60 to 80 hours or somewhere somewhere around there.
Easy, yeah.
But it was just so good, and every time you thought you were getting close to the end, there was more.
Yep.
The story kept going. There was
Well,
more
it had a false
to do.
ending in it too,
Right.
and then the bonus afterward.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I
Spoiler alert, I guess.
Yeah,
But think about it, that game's old.
it was
You can't
so
get mad
long.
at us for that.
It was so long.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Okay, if you don't want to hear this, mute.
Yeah.
So when you die as John, right?
Yep.
As John Marston, right? And then you like start playing as his son. I hate his son. I hate his son so much.
Oh.
He's a whiny little brat. And like when you're sitting there and you're skinning something, he's like,
Oh, I'm gonna do it just like Dad did it.
and I'm like, oh, come on. It's like, I just want John back. Like, I want to
Yeah.
resurrect John and keep playing, but you're not allowed to. You have to play as the son. So, eventually you have to shelve it. But, great game. Great game. The storyline went on forever. It was in depth. It was thoughtful. You felt for the characters. I mean, it was great.
Yeah. A beautiful piece of art there.
Yep, absolutely. And I loved how the music changed when you went from area to area.
Yeah.
So like
that's
when
nice
you
touch.
crossed over into Mexico, it was like the background music was very Mexican sounding, right? And when you came to what was the big town where all the fancy people lived? I can't remember. Blackwater, I think it was.
That was, it was
Yeah, Blackwater. The music
Oh, wow.
got more. It was still kind of Western sounding because it was 1900 whatever. But
No
at the
dubstep?
right.
Okay.
But at the same time, it felt fresh. It felt modern.
Yeah.
Even though it was modern for like 1904.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I loved about the game. The music was so perfect for the game that you always felt like you were there. You felt like you were on that horse. You felt like you were talking to these people.
Yeah.
So that was good. All right, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me. Oh, mic's getting a little weird here, but it is actually Halo.
Okay, the original.
So the original Halo, and you kind of put the first few in there
Great game.
for me.
Well, they kind of rehashed them a bit, didn't they?
Oh yeah, but well, they had a good formula. They had a pretty good universe with the Master Chief.
Agreed.
But what I really loved about it that they don't have anymore for whatever reason is the couch co-op. where you could have 2 people play through
Yes.
the campaign.
Yeah.
And I played this through with my little sister
Okay.
a whole bunch, and it was just already a great game, but the couch co-op made it 10 times better.
Absolutely.
Because, online gaming, you can go online chat, you can play with strangers, play with your friends. There's a big world of that there. That's great.
Yep.
But I felt like there was a great moment in time with that game where the couch co-op, before all of that hit and became the next best thing, where you could hang out with your sister or your friend or whatnot and really experience a game
In the
together.
same place.
In the same room,
Yes.
in the
where
same
you were
place.
physically there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there wasn't this whole extra machine of the internet or wherever, or logistics that you needed to challenge. You just happened to be home at the same time.
You were there.
You could set it up as like, hey, Lydia, you want to come play Halo? And
Yeah.
it's like, heck yeah, and you could just fart around with the elevators, or
Do whatever you want.
you could play against each other. But the co-op mode was great because you could get into a banshee and just start
Yep.
doing hilarious stuff, and the other person could just see that all unfold on the screen.
And then they had those vehicles where one person could drive while the other shot out of the back.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Which, I would say back in the original Halo days, that was probably pretty new.
Yeah.
That level of multiplayer was probably fairly new.
Yeah. So good idea. Great for its time. It really, I really wish they kept that, because that was something special.
Right.
But
Well, bigger and, better. I mean,
Yeah.
not always better.
Yeah.
Bigger, but not always better.
yeah,
Bigger budget, more people, more fanfare, but not always better.
yeah. How about you for number 3?
Number 3, I have Fallout 3
Ooh.
with all 5 of the expansions. So
Okay.
basically the Game of the Year edition.
Yeah.
Because those 5 expansions added a whole
Yeah, they were
ton of
phenomenal.
gameplay.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of new gameplay. Added new places to the map. I think most of them, to get through those expansions, were somewhere between 6 to 10 hours each.
Yep.
Each, and there were 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought this game kind of late, but I bought it after all the expansions were out, and I got the Game of the Year edition on the 360 with all 5 expansions for $30.
Yeah, that's good.
And that might be, except for number 2 on my list and maybe number 1, that's got to be one of the most economical games
Yeah.
I've ever purchased. Because I didn't spend $100 on it. I didn't spend $60 on it. I spent $30, and it's less now.
Yep.
And well over 300 hours. If I go back into that game, into my Fallout 3 progress, and just roam the world, you can't find anything. Like,
Oh.
I have triggered everything. I have done everything in that game.
Oh, man.
And I've tried before. I'm like, all right, let's see if I can find anything else. I'll walk for an hour, like back and forth down the map, and the only thing I'll ever see is a couple of those little crab things jumping out at me.
Oh.
No new storylines will trigger. I think I've done pretty much everything. But I love the stories. I love the side quests. And this is probably a good time to mention Fallout 4 as
Yeah.
well. So I will. Fallout 4, also very good. But I think a lot of people will agree with me when I say that the settlement maintenance
Yep.
is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
when you have 2 or 3 settlements, okay, fine. But this whole settlement thing, I liked it at first.
Yep.
I did. But now, once you have like 15 settlements, I'm going off, like, I will literally try to go and complete the main storyline or go on a side quest, and as I'm on my
Preston.
way, yeah, or whatever, and when I'm on my way there, they're like, oh, you need to go back to your settlement, it's under attack.
No.
And because there's 10 or 15 settlements, it's all the time. One of them is constantly getting attacked. So that makes it not so much fun anymore, because I can either let them do their thing and I'll probably have consequences, which means some of my players, the people of my settlement will die.
Yep.
And maybe it's the person growing food, or maybe it's the person doing water,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I'm going to lose someone in my settlement if I don't go out back and help them.
Mm-hmm.
And that leash that they put into this game, I don't like.
Yeah.
And that's why Fallout 3 is on here and Fallout 4 is not on this list. Because I've yet to finish Fallout 4. I
Oh.
can't finish it because I keep getting called back to help my settlements.
Oh,
And
well,
some
you
of them
don't
are
really
just-
need to do that if you're doing a Minuteman playthrough.
Well, some
You're
of
gonna
them
go
are
for that ending.
I know,
You,
I
you
know.
can just
Well,
you're
I
the
also-
completionist. You got a
I know,
completionist
I'm a
streak in you
completionist.
too. So,
But the other thing is, I haven't decided which faction I'm going to team up with for the end yet.
Yeah.
So that's the other hard thing. They made it really difficult because if I do this, I lose this these side quests.
Yeah.
If I go with these guys, I miss all of these side quests.
Yeah.
So it's like I really don't have any other choice but to like play it out and then rewind and play out each, which you can do. It takes
Yeah.
a whole lot of time. And instead, I just kind of moved on and I haven't picked it up again. So that's why Fallout 4 is not on this list.
okay.
And that is why Fallout 3 is on this list, because I have completed it
Yeah.
to the nth degree.
Yeah, Fallout 3 had a good kind of linear thing in there. A little bit
did.
of the busy work stuff, like we've mentioned with the
course.
other games, can
There
be
was
kind of
busy
fun.
work.
But
There
they missed. I mean, it was a meme,
Right,
you
right.
know, always with the settlements. And when I did my Minuteman playthrough, I went back and did the busy work. I got
Yeah.
it down and invested in all the settlements and set up the turrets and everything.
Yep.
But yeah,
Those don't always work.
Nope. Get high enough levels, super mutants start coming at you.
All right, Matt, you're up. Number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
What's your number 2?
This one was kind of actually a tough one for number 1 for me. But it's
Were
probably,
these kind of like pretty close? You didn't know which to do 2 and which to do 1?
Yeah, they were pretty
Okay.
close.
Yeah.
But it's one you probably haven't played. It's actually Spec Ops: The Line.
Okay.
Came out in the PlayStation 3 era.
Okay. Well, that was just the last console.
And it's from a larger series, but it's a complete reboot.
Okay.
And
Tell us about it.
the people that had the helm did a really good job.
All right.
And so it's your typical shooter up thing.
Right.
But the world they put it in was really fascinating, and the way they handled the story was really good too.
Okay.
So it is set in a Dubai that is hitting the million-year sandstorm.
Okay.
So all the buildings, everything is just buried in sand.
Interesting.
And you're just in this constant storm, and you're going.
did?
You
They go into the buildings as they were.
there's no mechanics for,
Okay.
but that is there. That's in the way the levels are designed. So
Okay.
you have these survivors that have dug out these things. So you'll be, on the 30th floor of an office building, but still under sand. And they'll have dug out and figured out how to survive there, and it's beautiful. When you go out there, you see the Burj Khalifa building,
Right.
which is, tall enough to survive anything.
Sure.
Anything's halfway to space. But it's based off of a lot of Heart of Darkness,
Okay.
or the movie Apocalypse Now, which
Yeah.
is also based off of
Right.
that.
Right.
Where you are
One of my
going.
favorite movies, by the way.
Oh God, it's so good.
It is.
But if you like that, you should really. And I will actually stop on the spoiler level since you have not played
Oh,
it.
okay. Fair enough.
I
I appreciate that.
the story and the way that this is done, especially with kind of the wartime
Yeah.
stresses and what happens, and a descent into madness, is very worth playing for yourself
Okay.
sometime. So,
All right.
and that's why it's very extremely high up my list.
Nice. All right. Remind me of that when we get done here, and I'll take a look.
All right, I will.
All right, my number 2, and this was very hard for me. Number 2 and number 1 were very hard for me. Is GTA 5.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, it's a good game.
I feel like I've tried the other Grand Theft Autos. I tried San Andreas. I
Yep.
didn't like it. I tried number 4. The thing I hated about number 4, first of all, it was in New York, which was fine, but I absolutely hated my character, and I hated his cousin.
Yeah,
And
Vinny, right?
Something like that.
Or-
And the problem was, I could never figure out what the hell was going on because the two characters sounded exactly alike in the game.
Yeah.
So when they were having a dialogue, I had no idea if it was my character saying it or if it was my cousin saying it.
Okay.
And I tried to push through that, and I played for quite a few hours, and I finally just gave up, and I was like, I can't play this. Was it Liberty something? Liberty City?
Yeah.
Number 4. Number 5. I feel like they nailed it from every angle.
Yeah, they corrected a lot of mistakes there.
There's so much to love about it. It feels like you're in a movie. The cutscenes and the gameplay are just seamless. They're flawless that they go between, right? The characters in the cutscene, your characters are wearing the clothing that you put them in.
Yep.
And
It's going to be really funny.
It doesn't change the quality at all of the image. The image is exactly the same. And of course, as you know, this came out on PS3 and Xbox 360 and PC, right? And then they did the next version where they gave it all the upgraded graphics and everything, added some more stuff to it,
Yep.
re-released it on the Xbox One, the PS4, and every single time I buy this game, it's another perfect. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
It's just so brilliant. This is one of those games I didn't mind buying a second time. I didn't care.
Nope.
I was like, I loved it on the 360. I'm going to play through the whole thing again on the One. And I bought it for the One, and I loved it. I think the storyline, if you stick to the storyline and do some of the side quests, you're looking at about 60 plus hours.
Yep.
Being able to play 3 different characters and switch between them whenever you want to is spectacular. I don't know of any other game that's done that so successfully as this one, and so seamlessly, where you're literally in the middle of a heist, you're in the middle of a shootout, and you can see Michael over here,
Yep.
and you're Trevor, and you can see Franklin over here, and everybody's shooting at the bad guys, and you can just, within a heartbeat, boom, now you're Franklin,
Yep.
boom, now you're Michael. And you can just, it's just so much fun.
Yeah, you almost feel like a musical composer. You have
Yeah.
the heist going and everything.
Exactly.
It's like, oh no, I need a little bit more there, and then you can just go down and regulate things like you're the god of the heist, making
Exactly.
sure things go right.
And you really are.
Yep.
And if you play the stock market correctly, you can end up with billions and billions of dollars by the end of the game, so you can buy everything. Woo! It's spectacular. And then the heists, like you
Yeah.
said. When you built up to the heist, sometimes I was a little frustrated because it's like, okay, I gotta go do this, I gotta go do this, I gotta do all these things in order to build up to the heist. But really, once you finally get to that main heist, and there were, 6 or 7 of them?
Yeah.
8, 6, 7, 8, somewhere around there,
Yeah.
of the main heists. When you finally did lead up to them, and you finally got to them, it was like, this is epic.
Yeah.
The music was epic. I have I have the soundtracks. I bought them on vinyl. I bought them on MP3.
That's some commitment there.
I've got the entire soundtrack on vinyl. It's that good.
Yeah.
The music is absolutely spectacular for
Yeah.
GTA 5. And then there's the stories of these people who are real people. They feel like real people. And to make the story feel even more real, those people exist within the world, even when you're not playing as them. You know, when you're playing Franklin, you can run into Trevor or Michael somewhere in the world,
Yeah.
just randomly. That living city, in my opinion, I don't think that level of a living city has ever been done that well before. So another kudos, of course, to Rockstar on that. I think it's just a phenomenal game, and that's all I
They
can
did
say.
it right. I mean, fan loyalty just
Yeah.
goes to show that you
Yeah.
buy the game twice, plus the soundtrack, plus all that
Oh,
stuff.
plus-
I mean, and it's worth it
Yeah,
because they made the investment in it, and you're
Absolutely.
going to make the investment in them.
Yeah, and that doesn't even count towards the online.
Oh yeah,
GTA Online,
Yeah.
which, you know, a lot of times it can be you just drop in and get killed by some 12-year-old who does nothing but kill people as they exit their apartment. But if you can get into it and you can get into those stories and those online heists,
Yeah.
man, the gaming industry was like turned around when these online heists came out.
Yeah.
People, for the first time, people that didn't online game were getting online with 3 other people just to do these online heists because they were as good as the single player was.
Yeah.
So not only did I buy the game twice on 2 different consoles and on the PC, but I probably put $100 into fake money on the online version.
Yeah.
Because, hell, I wanted a plane, and
Yeah.
there was no way I was going to be able to play enough to earn that much money. So I just said, screw it,
Oh.
and I bought one of those shark cards
Yeah.
and bought myself a plane and some really nice fancy cars. But I don't know. I think this is an 11 out of 10 game. In my opinion, it's one of the most perfect games that has ever been made.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. And finally, your number one is.
My number one is.
Should we say it at the same time? I don't
Sure.
know. I don't know if it's the same game.
It's probably not.
Okay.
But yeah, let's do it at the same time here.
All right. All right.
One,
3, 2, 1.
Fallout New
Skyrim.
Vegas.
Okay. What did you say?
Fallout New Vegas.
New Vegas. Okay.
There
Yeah.
is a reason I love Skyrim.
Okay. How can it not be in your top 5 though?
That merits some explanation.
It does.
And it was between because Bethesda could have easily filled this list out.
Oh well, that's true. We could do
that-
a top 5 Bethesda games. We could do a top
Exactly.
5 Rockstar games.
Yeah, and so we modify this a little bit. Like, yeah, Halo's going to drop off the list potentially, or something
Potentially.
like that. But
Unless
you
you're
know,
a hardcore
wanted to get as much of my gaming experience as possible into that.
Right.
And I feel like, it's really Obsidian with Fallout New Vegas, taking the engine and building something.
Yes.
And to me,
And that was the Fallout 3 engine.
yes.
Yes.
Um,
Which is one of the reasons I loved Fallout 3 so much, and so I also love New Vegas.
Yes, it was the storyline, just kind of the neat stress that they had with it, and then the
Hear that up on
the
the roof behind me
NPC storylines and the
Let's see.
DLC
if-
was just close to a perfect game.
Okay.
And it was hit at a time in my life I had a lot of spare time to kind of
Right.
like invest and
Yeah.
put into
time,
it.
Time.
And of course, Skyrim was very much the same.
Yes.
It was big, phenomenal, and beautiful, but it falls under that just kind of bigger umbrella with Oblivion and everything there too.
Okay.
New Vegas, similar engine,
Okay.
but different stuff coming from different places.
Well, then, if you could do top 5 universes and series,
yeah,
then things like Halo, Fallout,
yep,
Grand Theft Auto, Elder Scrolls would pretty much round out your
Yeah.
top 5 of, I would say, the most successful series of all times. And I don't mean the ones that made the most money, because okay, Call of Duty, it come out with a new game every 12 months. It's exactly the same game, and
Yeah.
people continue spending $60, $80, $100 on the same game over and over again. Okay, I don't do that. I don't play that game.
No.
But when you have the next version of a game that is completely different,
yeah.
That's not
with the new technology, which is what Elder Scrolls has been doing every iteration of the way,
Yeah.
has been throwing out everything they had, except lore, of course, except story.
You need to keep lore
You keep the-
and then
yes.
similar mechanics with how the conversation
Sure.
trees go.
Sure, but when it comes to the technology that was used to make that game, that's all thrown out, and they start over. And they say, here's our new platform. It's now 2019. Let's make a great game.
Yeah.
Because it takes 5-7 years to make these games.
Yep.
So by the time you finished it, there's already newer technology out there.
Yep.
So each time you start a new game, you absolutely have to start with the best technology. Otherwise, by the time you release, you're already going to be 5 years old.
Yeah.
And we don't want that.
But I want to
New
hear a little bit
Vegas.
more from you. So New
Oh,
Vegas
okay.
isn't there for me, but it's in
I
the
put a
same
lot of time
class
into
as
New Vegas.
Skyrim.
I do like New Vegas. I put a lot of time into it.
But why is Skyrim number one for you?
Okay, so Skyrim is number 1 for me because it makes you feel like an absolute badass.
Yeah,
There
pretty
is-
bored.
There is no other game that I can remember that makes you feel like a god. I mean, you are the master of this universe.
Yeah.
And even when you find these dragons who are supposed to be, gods of themselves, or they're supposed to be bigger and more powerful than you can kill them.
Yeah, you can eat
You
their
can find
souls.
a way to kill them and
Yeah.
eat their souls and take, you're the Dovahkiin, you're the Dragonborn.
Yeah.
And there's something about being the human embodiment of a dragon
Yeah.
that to me, it brings everything from fantasy, from Dungeons and Dragons. It brings everything from medieval time,
Yeah.
the weaponry, the scenery. Come on. And then the fact that you can just be walking along in the world and a dragon flies over.
Yep.
And you can either choose to engage him or try to hide or whatever you want. But I just remember playing it for the first time and just being in awe when I was in a village
Yeah.
and a dragon would come over, and how I didn't lose control of my character. I was still playing, but all of a sudden, all of the NPCs around me, all the guards were looking up and tracking this dragon,
Yeah.
and they started shooting arrows at him, and I'm like, I've never seen this before. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And you hear these guys yelling from all different angles, hit him, hit him, hit him, shoot him, and so I'm like, oh, that's me too. And I, you pull out arrows and you start shooting, and then he starts getting low, and you do a thum, and then you go up and you hit him with your axe or whatever. It just makes you feel amazing.
Yep.
And then you consume his soul, and you take on,
Take the bones
everything.
and the scales.
Yeah.
Tons of
It's just
bones.
absolutely
Yeah.
unbelievable, and the leveling system is daunting.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's amazing because you don't have to waste your what are they called, skill points or whatever,
Yeah.
your experience. You don't have to waste those points on ways of gameplay that you're not going to play.
No.
If you don't want to play Magic, you never have to touch Magic.
Well, no.
You can take 2 axes and you can run in full bore, and you'll still win the game eventually.
Well, you get rewarded for doing the build that you want.
Exactly.
And there is a reward for diversification
Mhm.
because, you do your shield. It'll give you some points to
Right.
do your general leveling up there as well.
Mhm.
But man, once you find something you like and you max
Pump
it
all
out,
your points into it.
whoever was designing that did a really, really good job.
Agreed.
With that, because there's some perks that are not very useful,
Right.
but when used in combination, if you're using illusion, one-handed, two-handed, mage, you just get delightfully OP.
Yeah, and I think one of the great things about it for me was how realistic it was. Like very early on in the game, I got married,
Oh, yeah.
and then I teamed up with somebody, not a real person, an NPC, and I thought that was so cool. It was so much fun. So then, even though I want to play the barbarian style, which for me, the funnest way to do it for me was dual wielding a couple of ebony axes with some massive armor and just rolling in and just destroying people. But then I felt like, okay, well, I'm missing this whole world of other abilities. So what I did was I hired a guy to hang out with me who was a magician. So every time I found great weapons that were magic or magic spells or magic gear, I would give it to him. So this guy was like the super mage, and I was like the dude running in dual wielding axes.
Yeah, he's got the range.
Right, he's
and
got the
effect
range.
spells,
So
and-
we'd see these enemies coming, and I'd just start trotting in there, and he'd be like shooting fireballs at him or doing whatever he wants to do. I don't know, flying around, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would just roll in there, and you can't be beat.
Nope.
After you get 50 hours into it, you're unbeatable, and that makes it fun because again, you feel like that god.
Yeah.
And then of course, the opponents keep getting harder and harder, and you die a few times here and there. But
Yeah, there's still some work there too,
Sure.
because the traps they set will have you played it through many a time. But
course.
like my first playthrough, even though I was
the
OP,
traps, yeah.
I get hit, every now and then with that,
Saving
or
often.
get overconfident and overwhelmed,
Right.
which is usually the kind of trap I would fall into. Is because I like playing. I did the healing in one hand and then ebony sword in the other hand.
Okay.
So I'd go in there, slice, back up, heal.
Right.
And it's
right.
like, hey, you guys.
That works.
Yeah, I'm turning all this magicka into health.
I just
I
like
want to
doing
wear you
that.
down.
Yeah. I did try that for a while, but I just love the feeling of doing like the double axe attacks, the special attacks.
Yeah.
I mean, most things in your way were no longer in your way after a couple of those attacks.
Well, and if you actually use your Thum there too, because
Exactly.
I never did a playthrough where I really properly used my shouts.
I did for the dragons.
Yeah.
I used to use the one that brings them
Dragon
down to
Rend?
the ground.
Well, you gotta use that
Dragon
one.
Rend, yeah, because otherwise you've got 15 NPCs shooting arrows at it. It's never coming down.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if it's like one of the dragons or
Yeah.
real powerful ones. Yeah, you got to bring that guy down.
Well, yeah, it goes off and starts chewing on a cow or a mud crab somewhere too. It's like, really? Just really insulting dragon.
Oh.
Firing arrows at you for 20 minutes. Don't know Dragon Ren yet.
you
You
lose
really
your
used
sweet
XP.
Did you lose your sweet?
Yeah.
I was a warrior like you too until I took an arrow to the knee.
God.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about on these lists?
No, I think that pretty well covers it.
All right. Sounds good to me.
I'm sure we'll think of 5 more to talk about
For
soon
the next
enough
one?
here. Yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. That's going to be it for today.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.